Oh, you don't worry about the Thanksgiving. These are tough people. They know what they're doing, and they're great, and they've done a great job. You're so worried about the Thanksgiving holiday for them. They are so proud to be representing our country on the border, where if you look at what's happening, Mexico, the people from Tijuana are saying, wow, these are tough people. They're fighting us. They're in fistfights all over the place.
Fistfights all over the place. We have border guards. But anyway, let's go to Tom Nichols. Tom, active duty military vets, majority supported Donald Trump in the 2016 election. I just, in a couple minutes, wrote down, though, he spent the past couple weeks attacking a Navy SEAL hero, using those troops on the southern border as political props, refusing to go to Arlington, to spend a couple of minutes in a car to go to Arlington on Veterans Day, refusing to commemorate America's sacrifice and our allies' sacrifice in the Great War because it was sprinkling outside. And, of course, steadfastly refusing to visit troops in a war zone. What are active duty military men and women to make of their commander-in-chief, especially his actions over the past few weeks?
I can't speak for the active duty military, and I wouldn't speak for them. But I think, again, part of what you're seeing with this fracturing of support, because I think that's starting to happen, and I think you saw it in the midterms, because, Joe, as you pointed out, the turnout and the lost seats and the number of votes suggests that this is starting to wear thin. There have been some polls suggesting that the president's support in the military is eroding. But, you know, his base is always going to be with him, and his base includes a broad spectrum of people. And I think, in part, it's because they respond to these rhetorical cues of patriotism, and then they ignore the actions that come after it. They say, as long as he says the right thing and, you know, says, I support the military, then they're okay with that. You have to remember, a lot of the people who support Trump define themselves by what they're not. And they say, well, he's not perfect, but he's not a Democrat, or he's not a liberal. And for a lot of folks, I think that's just enough.
Yeah, and Jonathan Lemire, also had the White House saying the reason the president didn't visit troops in the war zones is because he didn't support the wars, which, of course, is the last signal you want to send the troops, the last signal you want to send our enemies and friends across the world. What is the latest inside the White House about the southern border? We heard reports from Politico that the troops were coming home yesterday. Then the White House pushed back on that. Will those troops be staying on the southern border as political props through Christmas?
Well, first of all, in terms of the war zone visit, you're absolutely right. There has been some growing talk in the White House that this is something he does need to do, that it's becoming a political liability. He's been reluctant. You're right. It sends a signal to our troops overseas that if he doesn't believe in those wars, what sort of support is that? It's also been that he has privately expressed fears about his safety if he were to go to one of these places, even though, of course, all of his predecessors would do it sometime more than once as a show of solidarity with those troops. And this is something that when we asked him, I asked him about a month ago about this, and he said, I don't think it's overly necessary. I'm busy here sort of making the economy great. In terms of the border, yes, the White House is pushing back on that, but there is an expectation there will be a slow drawdown from the border in the coming weeks, that some of these troops will indeed be home before Christmas. Again, sort of revealing itself to be, at least in part, a political stunt before the midterms. You know, again, his rhetoric about the caravan, as we've discussed on this show, has vanished, that it was his #1 talking point. It was his closing argument before Election Day, night after night at these rallies, and since then it's disappeared. It disappeared largely on conservative media and in his own rhetoric. He certainly does intend to fight this order, the asylum ruling. You saw his frustration with the Ninth Circuit. There are things with this border policy that he does want to toughen up. He's furious at Homeland Security Secretary Nielsen because he feels like she's not strong enough at the border. But the caravan, these troops, these are things that he looks are going to fade away in the weeks ahead.
All right, Jonathan Lemire, thank you so much. And Tom Nichols, thanks for being with us. I do, though, I need to clear one thing up. Jay Caruso actually sent me a message and said that you hate Led Zeppelin. We just want to mark that down as a lie here and give you a chance to defend yourself.
I've been outed on national television about Led Zeppelin. I have to admit it. I've never been a Led Zeppelin fan.
Oh, God.
This is, I know, it's,
Tom.
it was nice being with you.
Tom, I was willing. I
guess
was
it's
willing
over.
I was willing to stand up for you on the Boston debut, but you're telling me that you think that Boston is a better band than Led Zeppelin.
I'm telling you that
Tom,
I would rather listen to side one
can't
of
really-
Boston
Tom, cut your losses.
than any Led Zeppelin album.
Tom, it's time to hang it up, bud.
Yeah.
Time to hang it up.
I think my car's outside.
Yeah, you better get in it fast. Thank you so much, Tom, I guess. Holy cow. Coming up, it's been nearly a year in the making, but Robert Mueller has finally received some answers from Donald Trump, at least in writing, because Donald Trump was afraid to sit across the table with Robert Mueller man to man. We'll be talking about what to expect next from the special counsel straight ahead on Morning Joe. Oh, and there's some Zap.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.